8 hours a day. That means 24 years of his life goes in just sleeping. If a person sleeps on average 7 to 8 hours of his day, 24 consecutive years of your life, you've just lived by sleeping. If a person goes to university and he works, 10.5 years of his life will go into work and school. If a person does his cooking and eating for all his meals, 3.5 years will go just for cooking and eating. And then all of the shopping trips, 3 years will go into that. And then 2.25 years goes into the bathroom, meaning when you go to the toilet, when you wash your hands, when you wash your face, when you do wudu. Obviously, some people may spend longer in the bathroom, especially our women today, with their 10-step skincare routines and 20-step makeup routines. People will spend so many years just doing these menial things. So what does that leave for spare time of your life where you're not busy in something else that you typically do? That gives you, in 72 years, you only end up with 27.8 years of spare time to do your own thing. From 72 years, you only remain with 27.8 years. Now, if you look at all of the studies and statistics, how much people spend on phones and televisions and PlayStations, from these 27.8 years, this is how much will go on screens. That means the average person in this day and age, 93% of his spare time they'll spend on screens, not doing anything productive. This is outside of work. This is outside of school. So he has 27.8 years spare, and 26 years, the average teenager today, the rest of his life, they'll spend on the screen. So now you see the problem. This is the problem. And this is the problem that we are addressing. What is the main distraction of today? The main distraction of today is technology. Your phones, your laptops, your computers. Technology is the main distraction of today. And what is technology like? I'm not saying technology is all bad. Technology is like fire. Technology is like fire. Fire under control has benefit. It'll keep you warm. It'll help you cook food. Fire that's not in control will burn everything inside. What do we do now? Our youngsters, you see them, especially the teenagers, they'll open TikTok. They'll open Instagram. And they've created this thing called infinite scrolling. Meaning you scroll, there's no ending. Just carries on. You scroll once, keeps going. Scroll twice, keeps going. When you have a book, at the last page you might say the end. On these apps, there's no the end. It just keeps going. It's called infinite scrolling. And when you're doing something that's not good for your time, it's called doom scrolling. For your brain, what is this like? You know your brain has something called neuroplasticity. It can be rewired based on how you spend your time. This is like this for your brain. It's like an animal digging in a hole, looking for bones, and never finding any bones. This is what it's doing to your brain when you're scrolling through meaningless things 24/7. Because what are you doing? Your brain is in a constant state of exploring, but it's never exploiting. Don't mean that in the negative way. By exploiting, you mean when you dig something and you find something, you found something that's meaningful. Doom scrolling is where you're looking in the hole and you never find anything in the hole. And this is what it's doing to your brain. Have you ever noticed when you get a notification on an app, the color is red? What does red indicate? Red indicates things like, when you see a red stop sign, it means stop. Because if you go further, now it will be dangerous. Red indicates danger, urgency. You need to look. You need to pick up your phone. That's why the notification colors are in red. You notice the apps, they don't use their own different notification sound. They use the same notification sound your phone has for everything. Why? Because if you are expecting an important text message, your phone will just make the same sound and you'll be picking up your phone expecting that important text message. But really, that was just a random notification from Instagram. When you are expecting an important call and you may have heard a vibrate, you'll pick up your phone thinking you missed the important call, but that just might be a notification from Twitter. So they've made these notifications so you constantly pick up your phone. You know, they did a study on some monkeys, and they were giving monkeys treats. But before they gave the treat, a light would come on. Before they gave the treat, what would happen? A light would come on. They checked the brain. In the brain, you have something called dopamine. This is your feel-good factor in the brain. When you feel good, your dopamine goes up. When you feel good, your dopamine goes up. So they had a monkey, they had a light, and they had a treat. Every time the light would go off, they'd get given the treat. They noticed that the monkey was more happy when the light would go off than when they actually got the treat. Meaning that anticipation, the waiting of something to happen, was more exciting in their brain than the treat itself. But then they did another thing. They put the lights on, and sometimes there would be a treat, and sometimes there'd be no treat. And then the times where there'd be a treat, their brain would be 10 times more happy. So what is this Instagram mechanism designed like? You scroll, you go through one reel, might have been boring. The next reel might have been boring. The next reel, it made you laugh a lot. The next reel, you found it very interesting. This is the reward deficit disorder created in the brain. If you sometimes give something good, and then for a while it's not there, and then all of a sudden you give it, the brain, it lets its dopamine go extremely high. And this is how they keep you addicted. How did they design these apps? They went to the casino. To design these apps, they went to the casino. What do they have in the casino? They have slot machines. They check what keeps people in slot machines. And they realize it's based on the fact that sometimes there's a reward, sometimes there's not a reward. When they walk away, it's not one straight line to the exit. There's curved lines that go through all the other different machines. So once you're sat at one machine and you go through the curved lines, you're going to sit at the next machine. So it tries to keep you addicted and connected as long as possible. This is why people can open an app and before you know it, 3-4 hours have passed and they've done nothing productive and they've just scrolled for hours and hours. So what are the dangers of these social media apps? The first, as we mentioned, is engineered to be addictive. It's addictive like drugs. It's addictive like gambling. And another thing that it does, it reduces the amount of time you can spend having attention on something. What are these apps mostly designed like? They're designed where it's just 30 seconds long. Then the next one is designed where it's just 60 seconds long. And then the next one. Now, next time you have to do something that takes an hour, you'll be too bored to do it. Because you've trained your brain to not be able to focus more than a minute. You trained your brain not to be focused more than 30 seconds. What's the problem with this? The problem with this is now if you say to someone you need to do a deep work task, spend 4 or 5 hours on something, they won't be able to do it because they don't have the attention span to do so. Another thing it does is the dopamine spikes that we mentioned. What does this do? This conditions the brain to not be pleased easily because you're constantly always spiking it high and high in such short periods of times. And what does this do? This then makes people depressed. This makes people anxious. And it makes people want to compare with each other because social media is full of comparing with other people. So these are the dangers. And a new technology we are facing is AI. What has social media done? It's taken our attention. It's taken our attention. What will AI do? You know how you have friends, you spend time with friends, you have to ask for something from someone, you call them, you ask them. Now you don't need to speak to friends and let them know about your feelings or your problems. Now you just have ChatGPT. You talk to ChatGPT, he is your friend. He is your therapist. That is your assistant. You know, back in the day, if you moved out of your house and you had to cook your first meal, maybe you'd ring your mom and say, Mom, how do I scramble eggs? How do I make the masala for the curry? You'd phone your mom. Now you don't need to do that. You just go on ChatGPT and ask it for your help. So what has this done? Social media has taken away our attention. AI will now take away our attachments. We won't need friends anymore. We won't need to reach out to people anymore. And this is not good for the brain. Another thing that will happen is you'll see fake news everywhere. Because I can now make a video of somebody that looks like me and make it say whatever I want. Was that really me? No, it wasn't. If you saw the video, would you be able to tell any different? Probably not. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu in ja'akum fasikum binaba'in fatabayyanu. That if a piece of news comes to you from a fasiq, an evildoer, fatabayyanu, then verify it. Why? Because then you may harm people unknowingly and then become regretful for what you have done. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran. That if a piece of news comes to you from an evildoer, or anyone for that matter, you should verify it. Because then if you share that news and it wasn't true, you may have harmed a person unknowingly, and then you'll be regretful for what you have done. What has another ChatGPT done? These chatbots, DeepSeek and Claude and all of them, they've made us lazy. Before, when you had to write an essay, you had to write a plan yourself. The what, the when, the why, the how, the structure, everything, you did that yourself. Now you just type in ChatGPT, make my essay plan, it'll do it for you. You know, the best people that know how to use calculators are the people that are best without using the calculators. Because they train their brain to know how to do the maths. So they're the best with using the calculators because they were already the best without the calculators. What will happen when we use ChatGPT for everything? We'll never train our brain. Our brain was designed to do hard things. Our brain was designed to do hard things. If we're always doing easy things and our brain is never challenged, what happens? Your brain will shrink. Because your brain is not activating all of the things that it needs for difficulty. And this is something your brain has to do because you've been built on survival. When we were in the hunter-gatherer times, we'd have to navigate difficulties all the time to survive. Otherwise, the animal might kill you. Your brain is designed to do this. That is designed to do difficult things. If we give all of our tasks to AI, will our brain ever be challenged? Our brain will never be challenged. So we will lack critical thinking and the ability to use our brains effectively. What will be the future impacts? In the future, AI will continue to develop. At the moment, when you use AI, you have to tell it what to do. And that's how it learns. Every time you input something, it learns new data. And it collects that data. And over time, it becomes more and more intelligent. What are they trying to do? Everyone's in this AI war. China's fighting with America, not in terms of battle militarily, even though there are many conflicts today, but the main battle is the battle of technology. And what are they fighting for? They're fighting to be the first people that create something called artificial general intelligence. They want it to go from super intelligence to artificial general intelligence. This is very important to know because it's important to understand what's ahead of you. It may sound very alien now, but these are the challenges you will deal with in the future. So it's best to be prepared. Why? Because if you fail to prepare, then prepare to fail. So this is something that will happen in the future, that AI will be developed to become artificial general intelligence. What is this? This is when the AI doesn't need you to put any inputs in. It learns by itself. And it has its own agency. And you know, these things are not always used for good things. It's not always used for providing you information. You know, they have a company in America called Palantir. This is a data collecting AI. What did they use this for? They used this in Gaza. How did they use it? They used this software system to recognize if a person is in a building and he's our enemy, that means his life should be worth 100 innocent people's lives. If there's more than 100 people, don't detonate the bomb. If there's 100 innocent people, this person, this terrorist, he's so valuable, we can kill 100 innocent people, it's fine. This is the kind of AI that is used now. And this is what's being developed currently. It's called Palantir. And you might think, oh, that's American technology, and that's somewhere in the Middle East, has nothing to do with me. This same Palantir is now going to be the technology that the NHS will use for collecting data. And these are the companies that we are trusting with our data. These people that can think it's okay to kill one of their targets in expense for 100 innocent lives, maybe 500 innocent lives. And this is the kind of technology that is being used around in the world today. Now, there are benefits of these technologies. You know, anytime a new advancement came, our scholars would say, when the camera came out, don't use the camera. The camera is haram. When the TVs came out, don't use the TV. The TV is haram. They had very sincere intentions when they said this. Don't use the internet. The internet is haram. If it could be that we could stop, that would have been realistic advice. But when certain things are set in motion, to say that, oh, just don't use it, it's haram, is unrealistic. To tell people that it's haram, don't use it, it is unrealistic. So what is the best thing to do? The best thing is to know about its harms and try and use it for beneficial purposes. These things, they are created for you to be the customer. You are the customer. They want you to use these things so that they can sell your data to advertisements for companies. But you can use these things where all of these people that are using it, you're putting the beneficial things on there yourself. So be a creator, not a consumer. Be the one that makes the beneficial things, but not uses it for its harms. There are good things that came out of AI, like there will be certain advancements in medicines, but we also need to be aware of the harms. Imam Ghazali rahimahullah, he says that certain subjects, they are like poison, like philosophy. Philosophy is not a good subject to study deeply, but it is a poison where you can extract medicine from that poison. You need to be like a person that knows how to extract the medicine from the poisons of your day. And the poison of our day is the technology, it is the social media, and it is the AI. And the last hadith we'll mention before we show some graphs. The Prophet ﷺ says, "Al-rajulu ala dini khalili, falyanzur ahadukum man yukhalil." That the person is upon the religion of his friend, and the person should take care of who he makes his friend. So you are a reflection of the people that you spend your time with. But nowadays, we don't spend time with people that much. We spend more time with our digital company. But this is your company as well. And you must take care of your digital company. And I want to show you some slides. This is a slide that is showing you people were given 10 minutes to spend on a social media platform. People are given 10 minutes to spend on a social media platform. And then a certain group were just given 10 minutes to rest. This is a 10-minute break of either resting or using social media. And can you see the graph? The people that rested, they rested 10 minutes and they were given a memory task. They did slightly better than before the break. Before the break, they did the memory task. After the break, they did the memory task. The people that rested, they did a tiny bit better. The people that used Twitter, they didn't do better or worse, because this is just reading information. The people that watched YouTube, that's long videos, so they didn't do better or worse. Their brain stayed about the same. But just after a 10-minute break on TikTok, how they did before and how they did after, they did 40 times worse, 40% worse after using TikTok. Because what is TikTok? TikTok is the short content, where it's only 60 seconds long. This constant burst of 30 seconds, 60 seconds, it ruins your attention span. That's why after 10 minutes of using this very short content that was frying their brain, they did how much worse after doing the task again, after watching these very short videos? They did 40% worse. They did how much worse? So the most dangerous type of videos to watch are the short ones. The most dangerous type of videos to watch are the short ones. And then these are a graph of teenagers. These people, in 2009 is when the iPhone came out. In 2009 is where the first iPhone came out. Can you see the graph? After 2010, the amount of teenagers that think life is meaningless shoots up. Why? Because it's in 2009 when the first, what came out? iPhone. Can you see after 2010, the graph is mostly a little bit up, down. Then after 2010, it shoots up. These are the amount of people in America that were studied that feel like life has no point. Another graph is depression amongst teenagers. After 2010, there was a 145% increase in girls. And amongst boys, there was a 161% increase. The next slide, mental illness. Anxiety went up 134%. Depression went up 106%. ADHD went up 72%. What is this? This is the attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, where you can't sit still. You have to always be doing something different again and again and again. Can't focus on one thing for a long period of time. This went up 72% after 2010, even though this could be mostly genetic. Your brain can be rewired to also inherit these illnesses as well, depending on how you spend your time. Hence why we also see a 72% increase since 2010. This is different age groups. Can you see the youngest age group, 18 to 25? They had the most amount of anxiety increase. Who has the lowest amount, 8%? It's the people that are aged how much older? 50 or older. They did not get that big of a spike of anxiety after 2010. Why? Because people that are over 50, do they use social media that much? They don't. Do they use AI? They don't. So this is probably a correlation as to why people that were over 50, after 2010, all the young people, their anxiety and depression were going up. But the old people, it barely dropped up at all. Because they don't use social media, and they don't use all of this technology like we do. And the next thing we see is people that were going to the hospital for harming themselves. And you see the biggest increase is in girls, 188% since 2010. They say that social media is more dangerous for girls than it is for boys. And this shows in this graph. Also, again, suicide rates among young adolescents. Can you see 167 increase for girls? Why? Because one of the main dangers of social media, as we mentioned earlier, is comparison. This person has a nicer house, bigger than mine. You see all of this on social media. Before you'd only compare based on the people on your street. You'd only compare based on your family members, your friends. Now you're comparing against the whole world. Because on your phone, you've got the world village. The world is a village on your phone. Now you're comparing against the whole world. He said that in a study, they studied people that, they won the lottery, and they looked at their happiness over a long time. He says that, people that win the lottery, their happiness doesn't go up that much over a long period of time. People that become paralyzed, what's paralyzed? You can't move. Very traumatic thing to happen, yes? Imagine you were paralyzed, you can't move. It'd be a very traumatic thing to happen. Is that correct or not? Would you like it if you couldn't move? You wouldn't like it. But he said that over a long period of time, people that become paralyzed, their happiness doesn't actually change a lot. Meaning they don't become that much more sad because something so traumatic happened to them. But why does most of this depression occur amongst people? It happens when people are comparing themselves with others. The moment people start to compare themselves with others, that's now when their happiness drops. Hence why we have the quote, comparison is the thief of joy. Comparison is the thief of joy. Comparison is what steals away your joy. That's why the Prophet ﷺ says, "Min husn al-Islam al-mar'i tarkuhu ma la ya'ni." From the beauty of Islam, from the perfection of Islam, is to leave that which does not concern you. And our ulama say that this hadith, leave that which does not concern you is half of the deen itself. Because when you leave that which does not concern you, you're spending all of the time with the things that should concern you. Hence why this hadith is known as half of the deen. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ says, "Unduru ila man asfala minkum wa la tanduru ila man huwa fawqakum." That look at those that are below you, and don't look at those that are above you. The Prophet ﷺ says, "Look at those who are below you, and don't look at those who are above you, lest that you belittle the favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala." This is the blueprint that our Prophet ﷺ taught us to remain content. Because if you always look at those that have less than you in terms of money, those that have less than you in terms of houses, in terms of cars, in terms of food, you'll always be grateful. If you start to look at those that have more than you, you'll no longer be grateful, but you'll be ungrateful. And you'll want what they have. And one of the things that social media do is they try and show you the extremes of everything. They try and show you extreme luxury. Because anything that's normal, it won't grab your attention. If you do something extreme, I brought a monkey here and it was jumping up and down, maybe those that aren't paying attention will suddenly pay attention. Anything extreme grabs your attention. Normal things don't grab your attention. That's why they show you the biggest houses with the most gold and the most diamonds. Because these things are extreme. These things are interesting. Another thing they use in social media is they don't show you happy-go-lucky, nice stuff. It's not you go real, there's a butterfly, there's a flower, there's honey. No nice little pity-patty things. What do they want to do? They want to show you things that make you angry. They want to show you things that make you angry. That you're going to react. You're going to put a comment that this is despicable. And it's going to get a reaction out of you. And this is how they make their money. By making you angry and showing you things that you can never afford. And in terms of our time, we have just 7 slides left. In terms of your time, you can make all of your time become worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How? By purifying your intention. You can make all of your time worship to Allah. Even your sleep, even your cooking, even your cleaning. If you do something with the right intention, that becomes pleasing to Allah. If you do something with the right intention, that becomes pleasing to Allah. So, if I was to go to sleep and I say I'm resting so I can have the energy to worship Allah, that sleep itself will become worship. Hence why the Prophet ﷺ says that indeed deeds are only by their intentions. So if you purify your intention and avoid the haram, you can make all of your actions become worship. One of the best things you can do, as we mentioned, everything's been designed to distract you. Everything's been designed to. What's the best thing you can do? Then don't be distracted. Use your time away from the distraction. Read the Quran, read a book, do cooking, do cleaning. Don't do things that are harmful for you. Don't just mindlessly watch things and waste your time. This is the best way to go against the corrupt system, is to not be distracted. And another thing is, if you want to do good throughout your time, don't try and motivate yourself. Willpower is not that good. What is better than willpower? Systems. Better than willpower is systems. Allah gave us 5 specific times to pray our salah. Allah didn't just say pray throughout the day and then I'll just know you'll do the bare minimum. Allah gave us a system. Because systems are better than motivation and willpower. And sometimes it's okay to have nothing to do and be bored and just reflect. Reflect on the creation of Allah. Reflect upon your life. Reflect upon your actions. حَاسِبُوا قَبْلَ أَن تُحَاسِبُوا. That. Take account of yourself before you are taken account of. This is called white space. When you have nothing to do, it's called white space. No one wants to have white space anymore. Everyone wants to be busy every moment. If you're just sat there doing nothing, you start getting anxious. Thinking, oh, I'm not doing anything here. May as well pick up my phone. Or, not doing anything here. May as well go on the PlayStation. This time is actually good for you. It says, the brain, when it wants to turn on its creativity pathways, is best done when you have white space meaning you're not doing anything, you are sat silent. This is good for the brain. So sometimes have moments where you have nothing to do. So boredom is okay. And if you want to do things in life, you want to fill your time with good, don't just say, oh, I want to be busy. Have goals. If you say, I want to memorize the Quran, that's now a goal. You're not going to just think, oh, I'll memorize a bit here today, I'll memorize here a bit tomorrow. Make the goal. I want to memorize one juz. I want to memorize the last juz of the Quran. The moment you make the goal, that's where you're going to be more likely to do it. And one of the best things to do is if you have certain distractions, the best thing is to take it away. If you're somebody that likes to eat a lot of cake at home, then don't have cake at home. Are you more likely to eat cake in a house where the cupboards are full of cake than versus a house that has no cake? You're going to eat cake more in the house with the cupboards full of the cake. If there's no cake in the cupboard, you're probably not going to eat any cake. So if you have certain distractions, just get rid of them. If you have social media apps, delete them. If you have certain distractions on your phone, everyone's distraction is different. Not everyone watches TikTok. Not everyone goes on Reels. Some people, they like to check the football score every few hours. Some people, they like to check the market every few hours. Some people, they like to check the weather. If something's happening to you where you just always feel like you have to pick up the phone, then get rid of it. Because if the distraction is no longer there, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you your life back. And one thing that we as parents do as well is you have a young child, as soon as they're naughty, you give them the phone. You know, there's no dummy now. Now it's the phone. Don't need to use a dummy. You have a phone now. The phone will keep them distracted. Every time, no dummy phone. And what will happen? They'll think the phone is their safety. And you're training them to think the phone is the safety. Because every time there's a bad thing happening, they're not comfortable or they're anxious or something wrong with them, you're giving them the phone. And our previous generations, they never had all these distractions. That's why they would read books, write books, and create so much benefit for the ummah. And if we don't do something, we will lose this next generation, and then it becomes a domino effect. We lose the next generation, then all the following generations will be lost as well. Come back to the first screen. All the spare time that we have, how much of the percentage of our spare time is going on screens? 93%. We have 27.8 years of our life if we live a long life. If Allah gives us the tawfiq, I pray Allah Azza wa Jal gives us the tawfiq to live a long, healthy life. If we live 72 years longer, on average, according to the average child, they're on a rate to spend 26 of their 27.8 years on screens. So if we don't do something about this problem, now you know it's a problem, yes? You see in the graphs yourself, it is a big problem. And we have to talk about it. I could have talked about virtues of the Quran, and maybe some people might read a bit more Quran or not. But when we have such a big glaring problem in front of us, why are we not addressing it? You know, one of the best things you can do is not just to start increasing your good actions, but is to get rid of all of the bad. A house that's built on a solid foundation, even if it's a small house, is better than a big luxurious house with all the amenities built on a foundation that will just crumble by itself. Yes? So before we do focusing on the good, sometimes it's more beloved to Allah that you left a bad deed than you increased your good. And these are some of the biggest distractions that we have today. And I know I finished on the last 4 slides and they're very short. So if it has been long, and I know the attention span of people is not great today, as we have mentioned, then we are almost finished. It's okay to have time to do fun things. It's okay to have time to do fun things. I'm not saying always have your head stuck in the Quran. It's not realistic. Always have your time spent in religious activities. It's not realistic. The Prophet ﷺ, he used to like swimming. He used to like horse riding. He used to like archery. This doesn't sound like reading the Quran, but the Prophet ﷺ did these things because it's okay to have activities where you give your brain a rest. Yes? Anytime you want to do something that's difficult, a little bit of rest is good beforehand. So that's why I'm saying to do halal fun is okay. So these should be wise choices. Our choices need to be wiser, not just on the phone, mindless scrolling, useless things. I'm not saying you can't learn from a 60-second clip, you can. But has anyone ever become a scholar from 60-second clips? No, they haven't. True scholarship comes by spending good amounts of time. And yes, you can spend quality time with family. Sports, these are good things. You should take your children out, make them do football, basketball. It's better than being on the PlayStation. Because the exercise is good for the body, keeps the body healthy. A strong body is better than a weak body. You should do reading and things like this. The Prophet ﷺ encourages us to read the Quran. The first revelation is Iqra, read, recite. So this is what the emphasis in our deen is as well, to spend a good amount of time reading. Now we see technology, last 3 slides, is very advanced, to the point where it's almost scary looking. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raises the question though, that those idols, you know, these technologies, they're like idols for people. They worship them. They spend that much time on it, it's almost as if they worship them. These idols are being invoked besides Allah, so much as, can they even create a zubab? Can they even create a mosquito? Can they even create a fly with all this technology? You know these idols that people are invoking? They cannot even create a mosquito with this technology. Even if all of them were to come together, all of humanity, they could not even create a mosquito. Such is the grandeur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation, that technology will never compare to even a mosquito. And what are all these things created for? I know sometimes people like to look at conspiracy theories. Who controls the world? Why is there so much evil in the world? Where is it all coming from? Is it the Rothschilds? Is it the Rockefellers? Is it BlackRock? Is it this? Is it that? Reality is, all of the evil in the world is masterminded by Shaitan. It's as simple as that. History will go on. The people who control the evil in the world will always change. You don't need to know who controls it. The story is always the same. Shaitan, he will influence evil. And the good people, they will stay away from the evil as much as they can. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِي فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكًا. That whoever is distracted from the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, indeed for him is a miserable life. This is what Shaitan wants. He wants you to feel miserable. He wants you to be distracted from the remembrance of Allah. Allah says only through the remembrance of Allah do hearts find peace. Shaitan wants to distract you from the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the one who does so will live a miserable life. What does a miserable person do? They feel sorry for themselves. And they now think, well, I'm sad, may as well just sit around and do nothing. That's why Shaitan loves a depressed person. Because he can justify to himself that I'm the victim, I don't need to be productive. I just sit and lie around all day. I'm sad. Sad people, they don't have to do anything. I'm mentally unwell. Don't have to do anything. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that whoever is distracted from the dhikr of Allah, he will have a miserable life. That's what this battle is. Going away from the distraction, coming back to the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why the Prophet ﷺ says, مثل الذي يذكر ربه والذي لا يذكر ربه مثل الحي والميت. The example of the one who remembers Allah compared to the one who does not remember Allah, مثل الحي والميت, is like the example and comparison of the one who is living and the one who is dead. So the last couple of slides, it's never too late to stop. Maybe you've spent your life being distracted by all these things and you have not been good at using your time. You know Imam Abu Hanifa, who's known as Imam al-A'zam, the greatest Imam, he started his formal studies at the age of 40 and he became known as the greatest Imam. And he's our Imam. Our madhab in fiqh is Hanafi. He is our Imam. And he's been the Imam of so many billions of Muslims for more than 1,300, 400 years. So such is the great scholarship that can come even if you started from the age of 40. And the best time to start though is not to think, well, he started at 40, maybe I should start at 40. The best time is to start now. Because I have reminded you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put me here. Whether Allah accepts my effort or not, I've given you a reminder. So now the reminder has come. And now it's your responsibility to use this reminder. So there's no point saying, I'll start later. Shaitan wants you to do this. Just wait to get married. wait to retire, wait for this, wait for that. This is what shaitan wants. The best time to actually start is now. Such is the giants that came before us. You know, Imam Nawawi, he wrote so many hundreds of pages, but he only lived till 45 years of age. He wrote some of the greatest books in Islam that has ever been written. You know, Riyadh al-Salihin is read by millions of people. This is his work. But he only lived till the age of 45. He only lived till the age of 45. They said that there were so many books in his small room of his house that if guests came, they'd have to move the books around so they could sit. This is how much he was engaged in so many different books in our tradition. It was said that, you know, his routine, he would spend 12 hours studying. He'd have 12 different lessons. And then he'd spend the rest of the hours of his day revising those lessons. It's almost as if Imam Nawawi, rahimahullah, was doing things in 24 hours that is actually impossible to do in 24 hours. Why? Because Allah placed barakah in his time. Allah placed barakah in his time. And the ultimate solution, you know, all these things, they sound very scary. Will AI take our jobs? You know, even now, one of the most future-proof jobs for the Desi community for a long time has been taxis. Now they have self-driving cars. Those jobs will go too. Once the cars are driving themselves, why would they need a taxi driver? So even these kind of jobs will go. And then you may think that if technology is becoming advanced, what jobs will be left for us? The real question is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. Whoever has taqwa of Allah, whoever is mindful of Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make a way out for him for every situation. وَيَرْزُقُهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. And he will give him rizq. He will give the person that has taqwa of Allah rizq مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ, from places they could never even imagine. وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ. Whoever has tawakkul of Allah, that will be enough for him. So even though technology is advancing and we may feel like that our jobs will go, we don't have a future, Allah says the one who has taqwa is mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah will make a way out for him from everything. وَيَرْزُقُهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. He will give him rizq from places he cannot even imagine. Just like how the bird goes out in the morning and comes back with a full belly in the evening, as our Prophet ﷺ says. And this is the purpose of Ramadan, so that we become people of taqwa. كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. That fasting has been prescribed upon you. Not that you become hungry, not that you become thirsty. Fasting has been prescribed upon you, like those before you, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, that you become people of taqwa. And to be people of taqwa, we have to always be mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And taqwa comes from the heart. The Prophet ﷺ, taqwa hahuna, ashara ila qalbihi. That taqwa comes from the heart, pointing towards the heart. We want to pray that Allah Azza wa Jal gives us the tawfiq to be removed from all of these distractions and become people of muttaqin. اللهم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم إنا نسألك من خير ما سألك منه نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، ونعوذ بك من شر ما استعاذ منه نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وأنت المستعان وعليك البلاغ، ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. اللهم أصلح أحوال المسلمين في فلسطين يا رب العالمين. اللهم أصلح أحوال المسلمين في كل مكان يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. اللهم آتنا كلنا خير الخواتيم يا رب العالمين. اللهم اغفر كل مسلمين من سيدنا آدم إلى يوم الدين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين.